Thank you, Mike. It's a real pleasure to be here and to share with you some of our thinking in terms of inspiring a new generation to connect with nature. So if I can have my presentation, please. Just waiting. Today, I'm really here to invite you to join me on a great voyage, a voyage in the future, a voyage that will bring hope and inspiration to generations to come. To do this, we need each and every one of you. This is a voyage we can and we need to take, all of us, together. This voyage in the future, 25 years from now, where the natural world is very much present in people's lives. It is accessible, it's all around us, in our backyards and on our rooftops, in nearby parks and in our schools. When we look around, we see parents, 25 years from now, feeling empowered rather than afraid to invite their kids outdoors to run, play, climb a tree, or splash in a pond. We see technology being used as a tool for the discovery, appreciation, and conservation of nature in a way that we can't even begin to fathom today. One where technology brings people out of their homes. We can see families eager to return for another national park visit to share the beauty and wonder of our national treasures and have transformative experiences. In the face of our park visitor, we see the beautiful face of our diverse society, a diverse mix of urban and rural, young and old, of various cultures and of various incomes. We see a new generation of leaders within our community that are being urged and guided by society to protect nature for generations to come. In this voyage, public support for nature is reflected through community engagement, government decisions, and a public volunteering their time, talents, and collective wisdom because of their love for nature. To reach this destination, I invite you all to join us in inspiring society, especially youth, by taking a leap. Because what we need is a step that is not an evolutionary step, it is really a step that is a revolutionary one. Success will be measured not in the hundreds or the thousands, but in the millions of people, embracing nature and joining us on the same personal journey that we in this room have all experienced. This love of nature, to me, is the most important legacy we can leave to the next generation, and in doing so, to the generations that follow. We will need to have reached our destination when people have come to value and love nature, because people have come to understand and appreciate nature, because they've had the opportunity to truly experience nature. However, to reach our destination, we need to understand where we are departing from. We, as nature movement, young and old, have a profound appreciation for a natural world that transcends who we are and what we do. But we are by far and away a minority. Our challenge, our greatest challenge, is to reach out to the 90% of the world's population that increasingly sees nature as something foreign to their lives. To put this into perspective, I will speak about our context in Canada. In a generation's time, we have gone from being a rural to an urban country. 80% of Canadians now live in a major urban area. Close to 40% of our population lives in one of the three main cities, Montreal, Toronto, Vancouver. And we are a multicultural country. We have the second largest immigration population in the world. And while the research shows that new Canadians have a strong interest in getting outdoors in nature and visiting parks, they are not sure where and how to start. So what does this mean for Canadians' connections to nature? Today, Canadians spend on average 90% of their time indoors. Our children get on average less than 3 hours of active play per week, compared to a staggering 8 hours per day in front of a screen or their iPhone or technology. The radius of play of the average 90-year-old has decreased by 90% since 1970. Not surprisingly, our knowledge of the natural world is slipping away. For example, in 2008, Canada's national symbol, the beaver, was removed from the Oxford Junior Dictionary. So were the words acorn, ivy, heron, and magpie. And what does this mean for our parks? Increasingly, the face of our visitors does not mirror the face of Canada. There is a marked absence of youth, urban Canadians, and new Canadians. This is the reality we are facing in Canada, but I will say that when I speak to my colleagues from all across the world, they all share a profound belief that the need to instill within the public a deep appreciation of nature is one of our key challenges. And what if we fail? A generation to follow of young leaders that are with us today have the opportunity to make a difference. So where do we start? We must start with the new generation, the generation of today and the one that will follow. If we are to be successful in inspiring a new generation, what do we need to do differently? We need to understand who they are, what they do in their lives, their dreams, their motivations, and their perception of nature. This new generation shares a common bond like no other generation before. The global pervasiveness of technology and new media transcends national and economic boundaries, culture, and socioeconomic standing. This has come to define a new generation globally, a connected generation. They are a generation living on the border between the real and the virtual. They thrive in a world of rapid change. They are in constant communication, interaction, and collaboration. Bombarded by media almost from the moment they were born, they are media savvy and quick to reject anything that appears fake. Perhaps most importantly, they crave self-expression, and experience is their most important currency. So this new generation, how do we secure their attention? How do we ignite their interests? Well, there is only one pathway to inspire this new generation and motivate them to action. It is to actually experience nature, to move nature from being an abstract concept to a real experience, an actual feet on the ground, emotions in the heart, visceral and meaningful experience. Parks Canada has begun this voyage within our country in Canada. We are working to create Canada's first national urban park within the Greater Toronto Area. Once established, Rouge National Urban Park will provide an unparalleled opportunity to reach 20% of Canada's population who live within the vicinity of the park and who's the most culturally diverse city. We are using new media to reach young Canadians. On Twitter and Facebook, in just 18 months, we rose to #1 in the Government of Canada for the number of people reached, how much we've influenced people, and how often top influencers share and respond to our content. We have launched the innovative and highly popular Learn to Camp initiative, overnight camping events aimed at introducing city dwellers to camping. Through our Parks Canada Youth Ambassador program, created in the honor of the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge, we have recruited 2 young ambassadors to use social media to connect with young people and spread the word about the wonderful experience they can have in our national parks. We have brought together 52 of Canada's best musicians and filmmakers to create music and film inspired by our most breathtaking national parks. And on television, we premiered Operations Unplugged, a reality show in which 8 urban young people trade their techno-dependent lifestyle for a summer unplug in our national park. Like Parks Canada, there are many leaders within our nature community that have similarly begun this voyage. You will hear from several of them today. Despite the incredible accomplishment of many of us, we are far from reaching our destination. The time has come for us to take the leap together, to speak with one voice. To become successful, we need scale. The hundreds of organizations, local to international, working together can provide the significant scale in reach, number, and efforts to make meaningful impact. To become successful, we need to support leadership from young professionals within our organizations, working together through peer-to-peer networks, many of which are already in place today. These young leaders are best placed to connect with their peers and invite them on our voyage. We need partners. We spend far too much time as nature community speaking to ourselves. We need to find those organizations that we can work with to reach the broader public. Youth organizations, educators, urban leaders, social innovators. They are out there, and we need to invite them in our tent and join us on this journey. To become successful, we need to move from the abstract to the real. We need a common understanding of the tangible experience that we can offer the public, the very real barriers that the public faces in experiencing nature, and how we can overcome these barriers. By working together on a common platform, speaking with a common voice, delivering a common message, we will have the best and the only chance of inspiring the new generation and achieving real behavioral change. We are stewards of the planet's most precious gift, life itself, in all of its significance, beauty, and diversity. As stewards, we know the power of nature, the power to awaken wonder and to inspire hope, a place of refuge and reflection. It is our privilege, but also our responsibility, young and old, to protect this natural heritage for future generations. But if future generations do not value this gift, if they've never been given the opportunity to walk quietly through a forest or swim in a cold, clear lake, then a world hungry for resources, they may undo what we have all accomplished. So protecting nature is not enough. We need to ingrain nature in the heart of future generations through experiences. In Sydney, Australia, in November of next year, please join us on a journey to the World Park Congress, where Sparks Canada has joined forces with the IUCN Commission for Education and Communication, the Commission on Protected Areas, and the Young Professional Specialist Group. Inspiring a new generation will give voice to diverse young people from around the world, across cultures, disciplines, nationalities, experiences, and expertise, joined in solidarity by a common thread of passion and commitment for the protection of nature. With your help, we will engage new partners outside of the parks and nature community that can help us reach new audiences. We will build a legacy of youth leadership and intergenerational partnership for parks, people, and planet. We invite you to join us on this journey, to reach out and to share your passion for nature. Together, let's inspire a new generation to connect with nature. Please share with us your real experiences with nature that we can use to inspire a new generation to get outside, to love, and to appreciate nature. Share your inspiration in the lead up to the World Park Congress in November 2014. With one mission, one voice, we can truly inspire change. 25 years from now, let us all look back in awe at what we have created together, a world where nature is truly present in people's lives and in their hearts and minds. Through one voice, one mission, we can achieve this global outcome. Thank you very much.
I'd like to introduce our next guest, Nancy Colleton. Nancy is an internationally known and respected leader in environmental communications and information. As the president of the Institute for Global Environmental Strategies, Nancy leads numerous initiatives that promote better understanding of the changing planet. Nancy also serves as the deputy chair of the IUCN's Commission on Education and Communication, where she's helping to promote the importance of biodiversity, nature education, and a variety of other environmental strategies. Nancy?
Thank you and good morning. What a pleasure it is to be here. I've enjoyed the conference so much and have been inspired myself by all the work that has been done, the beautiful footage and whatnot. So it's a pleasure to be here. I'd like to start out with a thank you, though, to Alan and Mike for the leadership that they're showing to take this idea of inspiring the next generation forward on a global scale. Alan, I'm sure you have many issues that demand your time, and we're grateful that you're giving your energy to this issue. As Mike said, I'm here today as the Deputy Chair of the IUCN's Commission on Education and Communication. We're one of 6 commissions. You heard from Ernesto Ercolan, who heads the World Commission on Protected Areas yesterday, and we're one of 6 commissions within the IUCN. It's chaired by my friend Julian Zeidler, who is from Namibia, and we have more than 1,000 members across the globe who help in how we better equip people to communicate issues of environment and how we can better equip education activities like the topics that Ellen just referred to about how we affect behavioral change. Our vision within the Commission is to provide or help grow a global community that loves and values nature. And having said that, then you can see why our focus areas, of course, on the CBDs, actually target 1. We help in the area of capacity development, looking at nature-based solutions, which is a big focus of the IUCN. And of course, we try to strengthen our members' capabilities and so that they can better communicate and educate on a local level. I would add that my day job is also one that we help to promote earth science education in the United States. We do everything from student art contests to assessing education programs and doing online education for teachers. How to inspire? That's what brings us here today with this panel. How do we inspire this next generation? And how many of you in the audience have children? Okay, then you probably know this expression well. You know, whether you're trying to get your child to study their French or do their homework or help with the household tasks, you sometimes get a disinterested person. And in this world of branding and consumerism, it's very hard to get across messages, even messages as special and unique as the beauty of nature or the wonder of wilderness. And so what we're doing within the Commission on Education and Communication is really looking at how can we take science, which plays such a significant and critical role in guiding wilderness, in guiding our decisions about biodiversity protection. How do we take that same science, that approach to science, and apply it to better understanding how people think and how we can motivate change? You know, for so many years, we thought that if we told the story of environment, that it would be enough to inform. But we recognize now informing is not enough. We need to engage, we need to teach, and more than anything else, we need to motivate positive change. And so we know that there is a wealth of knowledge that exists about people and how we think, and these untapped resources can really be game changers for what we want to accomplish. There's been a lot of work in looking at the psychology for a better world. Nikki Harry of Australia had talked in her publication about people are primarily happiness seekers. They're natural imitators, and ultimately, they want to do good. And then most recently, there's been a very good paper that was published on behalf of the CBD on biodiversity, and managing biodiversity is really about people. And we see this paper as a real step forward in bringing in more of the social science that can help us do a better job of communicating and motivating people. And Stanley Assa is one of the authors of that paper. And just a quote from him, as you see here: biodiversity conservation is a human enterprise in essence. And that's a very strong message, meaning that we need to look at it differently. We really need to understand how people think. And many of you may have even seen recently some of the emerging work that's coming out about climate change and how our brains process climate change, the concept of it, and why some of us perceive it as a threat and some of us do not. But it's this science that will help us better understand our topic and how to move forward and how to make a difference. So what we are doing within the CEC then is we really see a niche that we can bring together some of the best social science, some of this research, and share that with you. So as a first step, we're doing a workshop in November looking primarily at the CBD and ACHI Target 1 and bringing the authors together of this paper on managing biodiversity is primarily about people, and bringing them together with some conservation leaders and beginning this important dialogue. And then from there, we hope to expand this discussion in the springtime frame, and then bringing those results forward, and hopefully maybe even doing some new research on children and what their perceptions are about nature and wilderness. But this is the direction we're going. I'm incredibly excited about it, and I look forward to working with my colleagues within the CEC to help share that information with you. And I guess in closing, I'd like to just say two things. One is that speaking for nature, doing what each of us in this room tries to do each and every day, is such a privilege. And together, none of us is going to be able to do it on our own. We're going to all have to work together. And if we can share our knowledge and our experience, and then consider how we can bring in this new social science research, I think we can make great strides. And if there's any way that the Commission on Education and Communication can be helpful to that process, I hope that you will contact me, and I'd look forward to working with you. And again, it's a great opportunity to be here, and thank you very much.
Our next speaker has traveled quite a distance to join us here today, and I've heard that her luggage will shortly follow her. Sally Barnes is the Chief Executive of the New South Wales, Australia Office of Environment and Heritage. Sally has been a senior executive within the environment portfolio for over 15 years. In her current role, she is responsible for policy development in all environmental matters and the management of Aboriginal cultural heritage, native vegetation, biodiversity, and threatened species. Prior to Sally's appointment to the role of Chief Executive in May of 2012, she has held various senior management positions, including Deputy Chief Executive of the Department of Environment and Heritage and head of the New South Wales National Park and Wildlife Service. And previous to that, Sally was the Assistant Director General in the Environmental Protection Authority, Executive Director of Strategy, Communications and Governance in the Department of Environment and Conservation, and also Director of Education and Community Programs in the National Parks and Wildlife Service. Please join me in welcoming Sally Barnes.
Thanks very much, Mike, and I need to chop that blurb down a bit. But what I can say is I've had the privilege of working in the environment and heritage area for nearly 20 years now, in various parts, and it's something that gets into your soul and stays with you. And as I say, I'm very lucky to be in the space I am, and also very lucky to be here in Spain. And can I thank the Spanish people first for their hospitality and their wonderful country, and the great city of Salamanca for us to have this conference. I'd also like to thank my Canadian colleagues for taking the lead on this topic and inviting me to be part of it. Sitting here yesterday and today, I'd like to thank all the speakers so far. And can I say that I agree with exactly what the chair of WILD10 said, and that these conferences and congresses certainly give you, well, they're giving me extra stamina and oxygen. And it's fantastic to sit and hear and learn about what's happening around the world. And yesterday, particularly for me, learning about Europe and what's happening in Europe, and hearing about rewilding and hearing about the work that's being done. But then today, being reminded that there's so much more to do, particularly around Indigenous issues, and we've got a long way to go in Australia. Can I say that what I saw yesterday on the movies and today reminds me that the world is a very beautiful place. But it's a place where people are pretty strange, really. And I think it's the people, as we were saying before, as Nancy was saying, that it's the people we really need to engage with and we need to think about just as much as we think about the natural systems. I was really, really plugged into the rewilding of Europe, and can I say that being a park manager in Australia, I now know where to send my rabbits, my goats, my horses, my deer. I can send them all back to Europe because I'll have a home there, because they really don't belong in Australia. When you come to the World Parks Congress next year in Australia, what you'll be coming to is an ancient land, a land where Aboriginal people have lived for at least 50 or 60,000 years, but a land where it's ancient soils. And up until us whitefellas came with all those hooved animals, every creature in Australia was soft-paw and knew how to live in the environment. And what we did, we haven't learnt from history. We imported European history and all those animals. So I'm going to bring them back one by one. Sally's Ark. So as we've already heard from Alain, we live in strange times. We're increasingly busy, and yet we're increasingly sedentary. We spent a lot of time developing technology, and it was meant to be giving us more free time to choose what we like. But in fact, what we're doing now is we're finding we're slaves to those technology, and we're spending more time with that technology. In many cases, we find it's easier to connect with those on the other side of the world than it is to connect with our neighbourhoods. And if we're plugged in, yet we've tuned out. And we largely rely on a world that tells us about itself, but we're not actually going out discovering it for ourselves in many cases. This isn't new, actually. In fact, my father was an accidental migrant to Australia. He left Holland. He promised his father he'd be back in 6 months on a world journey in 19-something, I'm not going to tell you the date, met my mother, and never got back to Holland for 20 years. And because airfares in those days were so expensive, he couldn't afford to take the family back to the Netherlands to see his family. So what his family used to rely on was the television series Skippy the Bush Kangaroo. Because by watching Skippy the Bush Kangaroo, they felt they had an insight into our life in Australia. And funnily enough, my brother John looked a lot like Sonny Hammond with that blunt cut fringe. So my relatives in Amsterdam thought we had kangaroos that live with us, and I think they thought we had helicopters, and they thought we had great adventures in the bush. Most of that was true. We did have great adventures in the bush as children, and we were allowed to roam free. We didn't have a pet kangaroo, but we had lots of dogs that used to follow us home, following the adventures in the bush, and we didn't have a helicopter. But we did live, as kids, we all lived pretty close to the bush, and we all had a back track that we'd explore. And what I'm going to talk to you about now is our attempts in New South Wales through a special program to connect people to that back track and then to nature. So a recent, and we've heard some stats, so just let me add to those stats. So a recent British study found that children at 8 years old can identify more Pokemon characters than they can wildlife species. While the University of Glasgow recently reported a study of toddler activity that found a sample of 78 3-year-olds were physically active for just 20 minutes a day. And there are lots of studies that give us the same sort of findings. Screen time is going up, and childhood obesity, diabetes and depression and attention disorder is going up with it. Richard Louv, the author of The Last Child in the Woods and the Nature Principle, suggests that a fear of stranger danger, diminishing access to natural spaces and the proliferation of electronic material has resulted in what he terms widespread nature deficit disorder. So our aim in New South Wales National Parks and Wildlife Service has been to provide a link back to the natural world for children who may have lost that first-hand connection. Our vision is for every child under 12 to have a positive experience in nature, strengthening their development, increasing levels of empathy through an appreciation of the natural world, wildlife, and inspiring their conservation of these special places for the future of the planet. We also want the kids to experience independence, a sense of wonder and exhilaration from playing outdoors, from discovering a delight from their backyard right through to national parks. And to encourage this, we've decided to meet the kids in their own digital realm. While I hate the talk of war, let me tell you, if we're going to talk war between the digital world and the natural world, and it's one or the other, I'm giving up. I've given up. We're going to start in the digital space and take them out into nature. And I'd like you to look at the video, and this will explain how we're going to do it.
Hi, I'm Ranger Sam, and these are my friends. We're here to tell you all about WILD10, a multi-award-winning program developed by the New South Wales National Parks and Wildlife Service. WILD10 is designed for children aged 5 to 12 years old. Through a combination of digital and real-world encounters, it aims to inspire them to find out more about nature and explore our national parks. The WILD10 website features exciting gameplay and interesting facts about Australian plants and animals. On the site, children get their own special cubby where they can create their own avatar. From here, they launch into exploring the immersive, diverse and beautifully designed environments. The WILD10 website also features an Aboriginal cultural environment. This special environment immerses children in traditional Aboriginal culture through games, stories and much more. But WILD10 isn't just online. There are also a host of special WILD10 discovery tours in our national parks during school holidays. The WILD10 app has won a bundle of accolades, including the best of the best at Australia's Digital Industry Association Awards. It was featured as Apple's App of the Week and has been downloaded many thousands of times. While the app provides hours of interactive fun for children at home, it's also a great resource for teachers in the classroom. We're also creating new resources for primary schools so that teachers will have access to easy-to-use activities linked to the curriculum. WILD10 is certainly fun, but best of all, it's helping to connect children to nature. It encourages healthy, outdoor, nature-based play that builds essential life skills and a lifelong love of the natural world. Thanks for your time, Rangers. We hope to see you in a New South Wales National Park real soon.
So what we're doing, thank you. Thank you very much. Without the huge budgets of Disney and at a pretty low cost, we think this is a pretty innovative way of creating a stepping stone to provide that path back to nature. So we start with a game, And then by getting people's addresses, we're actually then tweeting activities to them, WILD10 activities. We've got, what we're doing is taking out live interactive versions of the Cubby House, which we're taking to museums and visitor centres and to the zoo. So we're linking people from museums and zoos through WILD10 out into the national parks. We're using the ranger tours and activities to transition what they've seen on the game into real life experiences, so they have that virtual experience and then a real life experience. And I think the most exciting thing is that it's being picked up by the Department of Education as part of the new curriculum in New South Wales. We're also looking to reconfigure our parks and our visitor centres in particular to act as hubs for this social interaction and to link with WILD10 and to have the visitor centres and the areas in parks to allow unstructured play, but in a safe way as that transition out. We want all kids to have access to national parks, and we want them to have fun in nature, and we want them to create their own memories. And there are a range of things that go with the program. The most amazing thing is to see a group of children with an iPad doing this and bumping into each other as they're playing the game. It is something very, very special. The other thing is to see them taking their WILD10, packing their WILD10 backpack and heading out to the bush for their own adventure. I think someone may have packed this WILD10 backpack a bit earlier, and look what they found. Something to go to an adventure with Sydney with, a tag. So as you leave today, make sure you get a baggage tag, because this will take you to the World Parks Congress once you've paid your money. It'll remind you to go. What else is in here? Oh my goodness, a hat. You'll need that in Australia. It gets very, very warm. Sunscreen and a hat. This one, Mike, is for you. Oh, and some T-shirts. So when you come to Sydney, you can get your World Parks Congress T-shirt. Now it's time for me to get into mine. Excuse me. And this one's for you, Alan. So, I learnt this from Vance. I've seen him work congresses to go to the next congress. So Vance, thank you very much for letting me do the PR plug. So please join us in Sydney to talk about this and a number of other themes. This one's very close to the heart of the panel, and I think it's something we really need to work together on, and I think we have to, as I say, give up. It's not a war. If we take it as a this or that, we're never going to get there. We have to start where the kids are and take them on a journey. Thank you very much.